Welcome everybody to this edition of Attention Talk Video. I'm your host, ADHD and Attention Coach Jeff Copper, and I'm here today to talk about those with ADHD who are passive. What passive means is that they really they can activate and they're motivated and they accomplish things, but they're passive. It's like the world has to come to them first and then they'll react to them. They're not very good at getting up and going out and doing something kind of proactively. And I've coached dozens of people like this. And I find that they, and the people around them are always trying to work with them to get them. They're not motivated. You need to go and do these things. And it seldom works that way. What I found is that it's helpful if you have ADHD and you're passive is actually to say, listen, I'm a passive type person. I have a hard time getting up and going to activate. And you build a life, if you will, that will help you go forward in a passive kind of way. So let me give you an example. Imagine that you're running a business and you need to go out and get more business clients, if you will, but you have a retail store, let's say laptops or computers. Passive would be is you wake up and you go to the office every day and people come into the door and they have issues and you react to them by taking care of the issues with the computers that are coming in. Now imagine that while you can make some money at that, you really need to make more money with business customers. But to do that, you've got to go out and call on business customers and solicit them. That would be a very directed act. Well, in a situation where somebody with ADHD is passive and they're waiting for people to come in, this is really very difficult. So how do you move that person forward? Well, what I found is if you acknowledge that and the person with ADHD actually goes out and gets a third party and sets this up, then they can actually passively go forward. How this would work is maybe a virtual assistant or a secretary or a business partner or a spouse who would come to that person every day and say, I need a database, I need your database right now of names of business people, or I need you to write copy right now by noon for a newsletter or something like that. And in that situation, the individual is reacting to that request in that particular moment. So the third party at that person time is asking for these future directed things of the person with ADHD who is passive. But effectively, by being passive in the situation, and I hope that you're following my logic here, that's actually kind of moving them forward. And I found countless times working with those with ADHD that are passive, it's a lot easier to design an environment for them to passively move forward than for them to more directly stand up and go do something. It sounds kind of crazy. It might sound a little difficult to set up, but it's very, very doable, and I think that you'll really find it very, very successful. And as I say, it's a lot easier to work with somebody's ADHD than work against it, and that's an example. Trying not to change that person, but change the environmental factors to kind of help them move forward. Again, if the person is passive, set up a system so that they react to it in a forward-moving kind of way. We hope that you've enjoyed this tip, particularly if you're a passive individual or are with somebody that has ADHD and passive. Oh, I guess one last tip. The key to all this is it really doesn't work at all unless the person with ADHD acknowledge that they're a passive individual and they begin to take charge. I've done some other videos about the difference between responsibility and accountability. And those with ADHD, it's an important distinction. Accountability is actually doing something. Responsibility is making sure that it gets done. So in a situation that a person has ADHD and they're passive, they can take responsibility to delegate the accountability to somebody else to move them forward. Again, if I have ADHD, I admit that I have ADHD and I'm passive. I delegate the accountability to the third person to come to me in my business so I can react to them in that situation to move them forward. That is a future directed act, if you will, and a form of self-regulation. So again, we hope you found this tip useful. Hope it makes you think. If you want more great tips, subscribe to Attention Talk Video at the button below. We hope you enjoy this episode. Take care.